Hello, TBS students, friends, family, and anybody else watching. I'm Pam Dettelbach, often called Mrs. D, and I hope that you all and your family are safe and sound in this difficult time. Today is my first installment of Baking with Pam or Cooking with Pam, and I had just put a picture up of the ingredients that you'll need, which I will read just to familiarize yourself. So you're going to need a cup of granulated sugar, a stick of butter or margarine, 3 eggs, 1 3/8 cup of matzah cake meal, 3/8 cup potato starch, a quarter teaspoon salt, a half a cup of mini chocolate chips, a half a cup of chopped nuts, I use peanuts, and a half a teaspoon of cinnamon mixed with 1 teaspoon of sugar. That's going to go on top. So let's begin. We're going to start by taking our butter, which I cut up into little cubes to make it get to room temperature. I'm going to stir that a little to get it soft, then mix it with the 1 cup. So I have the softened butter, which I've mixed up a little. Now I'm going to add, somewhere is my cup of sugar, already measured. I'm going to add my sugar and stir this till it's nice and creamy. It's going to take a few minutes. You can use an electric mixer, but of course sound would be a problem. So I'm doing it with my spoon. Once I stir this, I will show you how it looks. In the meantime, I don't know if a lot of you might remember me because I taught Sunday school at Temple B'nai Shalom for over 19 years and enjoyed every minute of it. And sometimes we would cook in class or I would bring baked goods. So that is why Rabbi Rappaport contacted me saying, why don't you help with one evening activity? Somewhere I have my spatula because this sticks to my spoon. So I looked at my recipes trying to find something that would be not too difficult that you could then freeze for Passover. Now, I don't know how your stores are, but my stores were not all geared up for Passover. So you'll notice in the course of this baking, I have substituted, but I will always let you know when I substitute, and we'll have to hope for the best. This still isn't quite right. This is my first tape recorded or videoed cooking. My husband is the cameraman, Brian. You can all say hello to Brian. He's making fun of me. All right, so we're getting this all nice and soft and mixed together. It's almost there and ready for the eggs. Now we have 3 eggs that are at room temperature. Oh, I should tell you, I preheated the oven to 350. So that will be all ready when we're ready. All right, so this is looking pretty good. Now I'm going to add the eggs. What I like to do, I have range-free eggs, try to be kind to chickens, is I like to add one at a time. I crack them in a separate bowl to make sure there's no shell, and I kind of just pre-mix it a little bit. So we're adding the eggs one at a time, and you'll see, I guess I need, like Rabbi Rappaport had the Torah a camera on top so you could be looking over my shoulder as I'm mixing. Perhaps that will come one day. That egg is getting nice and incorporated. So now it's on to egg 2. There we go, plop. I don't know if you can hear the plop. I'm mixing that one in. Notice the color is nice and yellow with these range-free eggs, the yolks are so much prettier. All right, we're ready for the last egg. Oh, I have found over the years that I don't like breaking the egg on the edge of the bowl because it makes too many little tiny pieces, but by breaking it in the center of the bowl, it's usually a clean break. Just a little baking tip. Okay, now we're adding the last egg. And you'll see the color is nice, the butter is all incorporated, it's a nice smooth mixture. Okay, now on to some of the dry ingredients. So as I stated earlier, some items I could not find in the grocery store, so I am using regular matzo meal. It is not cake matzo meal. All right. Don't worry about mixing. We're going to add our, all right, well, this is another shortcoming. All right. This, I'm going to be making these Mandel bread cookies and giving them away to our local shelter. So there was no potato starch in our grocery stores. So I, of course, looked up substituting potato starch. They said cornstarch would work. Normally, you would not use cornstarch. It also suggested dried potato flakes, but I didn't feel like a whole box of instant mashed potatoes. So anyway, here is my cornstarch. Then I have to add my salt, teeny tiny bit of salt. And now I'm going to mix this all together with the whisk. Now it had suggested, the recipe suggests sifting these ingredients, but because I don't have cake matzo meal, I just have regular matzo meal, that would be way too chunky to go through. And we just have to kind of hope for the best. With these ingredients, I'm sure whatever comes out will taste good, but as I said, it's a little bit of an experiment. Perhaps you are going to be lucky enough to find cake matzo meal and potato starch. I should mention we are coming live from Stanton, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley. And we do have a lovely Jewish population here. We're a little temple, but the grocery stores are busy with other things. All right, so that is all incorporated. You can kind of see that now. Let me double check the recipe. We are going to just dump this in. Oh, what I did, silly me. I have an extra bowl I don't need. Okay, we're going to incorporate this into our egg and sugar mixture and mix this thoroughly. You see it's coming together nicely. Now, I don't know if it's because matzo meal, it seems to me it should be a smidgen thicker. So I'm going to do something I didn't do before. Pardon me 1 second. I'm going to sprinkle in a little extra matzo meal because I want it a little denser. I just put about a tablespoon in. And you shouldn't have to do this if you're using the called for ingredients. See how it's thickened up that a little bit? I think that will be better. All right, now, guess what? It's time for the fun part. Chocolate mini chips. Just gonna put that in, and it calls for a half a cup of chopped nuts. Brian's favorite nuts are peanuts, so that's what we're using. But it would be great with pecans or walnuts. Dump that in. Now we're kind of folding this all in. You can see getting all incorporated. Okay, that looks pretty good. You can see that. Put some bowls away. All right, so we're going to put, as I said, my oven is preheating. We're going to put this on a greased cookie sheet. So I like to use, when I take my butter out, I have the paper, and there's usually enough butter on there to grease this. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. That should be just fine. Take out your spatula. And you're going to be putting this on the cookie sheet and trying to mold it into what would look like a loaf. Scraping, trying to get all that. You work so hard for it. I will say it smells like Passover having the matzah meal.
Don't leave any of those chocolate chips behind.
In the old days, you would say that is somebody talking in the peanut gallery, but that's Brian, the cameraman, who we have to thank for making this all possible. Oh, I should point out, because Rabbi Rappaport always has helpers, I have 2 Popple helpers, Lemon Drop and Priscilla. So I don't know if you're familiar with Popple stories, but they're one of my favorites. So they've been here supervising. All right. So we have this, and we try to mound it into a little loaf. You don't want to leave any chocolate chips behind, as Brian said. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to take the cinnamon sugar mixture and sprinkle it on top. Cinnamon sugar always smells so good. Now, with the beauty of recordings, I have learned, I did this earlier in the day. I'm going to go put this in the oven and set my timer. The recipe calls to cook it for, what does it say here? About 45 minutes, but I always do it for 5 minutes less and check it, and then I'm going to set it for about 40 minutes. Actually, I'm going to set it for 35 to check it.
Is that your chicken one?
This is my chicken timer. I will be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back from the oven. I pulled out my mandel bread. I don't know what happened. I have never had it do this, but it must be the cornstarch instead of potato starch, or the matzah meal instead of cake meal. But while it's warm, you slice it, and then you're supposed to turn it on its side and rebake it. But with it being flat, it's actually like mandel bread already. And I did break off a little bite, and it's delicious. So this batch is just going to become mandel bread only baked once. Let's hope, I'm going to hope that this next batch that we just prepared together will be better. If not, if it is better, I will take a picture and resend it to Rabbi Rappaport for her to add at the end. I don't know exactly if I'm ever going to get to cook with you again, considering that my mandel bread did not turn out well. But that's how baking goes sometimes. It'll taste delicious, but just look funny. Of course, if I get invited back, I will try a different recipe. I have a great asparagus cheese recipe that is my husband's that we often have during Passover. This is from my family to yours. Be safe, be healthy, be well. I miss you all. A virtual hug from Mrs. D. Shalom.